Houston, we are go for launch in T-minus 30 seconds.
Every day I become a better operator, whatever it is, and it happens. Why? Because I don't take time off.
We are green on all engines, sir.
I only knew one way, and I knew the right way.
Initiating launch countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Booster ignition.
The Service Rocket Podcast has good liftoff. Welcome to the Service Rocket Podcast, hosted by Victor, the Rocket Man Rancour. Please enjoy the ride.
Welcome to the Service Rocket Podcast. This is episode number 8. Today I got an exciting guest on here. He's one of my business partners, friends, badass dude. He's been in the industry for a long time. He started out as a technician, worked his way up to now he's operating a badass company out in Salt Lake City, Utah. Welcome to the Service Rocket Podcast, Jeff Packard, man. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're well. Obviously, I've had you on the podcast before, previously, and I think a lot of things have kind of changed since then. And I wanted to bring you back on, kind of tell your story again to my client or to my listeners, but also just talk about what you got going on, man. It seems like you had some big stuff going on with One Stop.
Yeah, we're growing. We're doing good. We're growing and exceeding last year's revenue, and just trying to double up every year.
Awesome. So, Jeff now he's owning and operating a One Stop Heating and Air out in Utah. But he started out as a technician. You want to kind of talk about? Let's take it back to when you first got into HVAC and kind of how you worked your way up through it and how you got to where you're at now.
Yeah, I think I got in like a lot of people got in, just kind of by accident, being young and needing a job. I never really intended to get into HVAC. I had a roommate that was doing HVAC on the commercial industrial side, and I was working, delivering packages and not really doing nothing for my future. I was young, about 21 years old, about to have my first kid. And he said, let's start doing HVAC. And he said he could give me a job installing. So that's where I started, man, March of 2000. So 22 years in the industry.
That's quite a bit of time. How old were you at that time?
I was like 21 years old at that time.
So you're 21 years old. What else do you have going on in your life at that time? Did you have any direction, or you just like, man, I hope and pray this works? Or what was your thoughts when you first got into it?
I didn't have a lot of direction, and I didn't have a lot of direction for years after that in the industry. I was about to become a father, so I knew I needed a good job and way to support my kid. But I got into the industry, and I worked in the industry for probably 6 to 8 years before I really started getting direction and started to excel in it. I think that's part of my success, to be honest, is I spent a lot of time installing. So once I did get the opportunity to do service and sales, then it came a little more natural to me because it's something I've been doing for a while.
Yeah, and a lot of guys they haven't been on that side. So a lot of owners, including myself, I started as a service technician. Worked my way up to being a sales guy.
Right.
I never really knew the install side until the day I had my entrepreneurial seizure, and I'm like, oh shit, someone's got to put these things in, right?
Right.
And I think that's it's a big deal, right? Because I even have some friends now that just started a business a couple weeks ago, and he thought he was a sales guy with me. He started a business, and he calls me after he left his job. He built out his business. He's already spent like $50,000 into it. He's got trucks. He's ready to go. He calls me and he says, "Hey, where do I find installers?" I was like, "Whoa, brother, let's hold up. Wait, you did all that shit without installers? Like, you got to understand who's going to install this shit for you. Like, that's the lifeblood of the business." So, you obviously start out as an installer. We'll circle back to later on starting your business. You start out as an installer, work your way up. How was that conversation? How did you get your boss to say, "Hey, hey, boss, I want to become a service tech," right? I tell my installers, you're a fucking installer. I don't want you to be a service tech because it's hard to make new installers. It's easy to make service techs, in my opinion.
Pretty much had to do it just like that. I had to go tell him. I had to kick the door down. I was a good installer because I have much experience I had, and I was talking to the service manager and telling him that I want to get into service because one of the service guys was talking to me on jobs and telling me, kind of pumping me up, saying, "You can do this. This is where the money's at." So I got real hungry at it, and I was talking to the service manager saying, "I want to get into service, and he told me the same shit. He's like, "You're not ready. And I probably wasn't. I didn't have any service experience, but the boss, the owner of the company I worked for several years, he never showed up to the business. So I called him one day at his house and said, "Can I come over and talk to you? Can I come over and visit with you?" And he was like, "Sure, come on over." And I came over and told him, "I want to do service. I want to do sales. Like, I think I can do this." And he was like, "All right, man, I'll give you the chance." And I remember he told me, he's like, "You got to fake it till you make it." And that's what I did. I faked it for quite a few years and then became successful doing it.
And what Jeff said is important, right? I think a lot of people, they overthink, right? So it's analysis or paralysis by analysis, right? So you overthink things rather than jumping in it. And I was reading a book the other day, and it's like you just got to put yourself in it, and then you can figure it out. Because if you wait forever for it to all come together, and all of a sudden now you want to go launch, it's like even when you started a business, right? If you wait until everything was perfect, you had everything in place, then you go launch. By that point, you're already broke. You ain't got no money, and you got to figure it out at that point. So, I think that's the key. If you're in this industry, or you're thinking about getting into it, or you're thinking about moving in a different role, just act as if. You got to act as if you've been there. Act as if you belong, and obviously, eventually, you're going to be there. If you don't take that step, you're never going to get there. So that was important, obviously, in changing the way your life probably turned out, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if you're still humping installs every day.
No, I do. I act like that with everything, not just with work, but I act like I'm supposed to be there. This shit goes a long ways for sure. But what you were saying is, imagine still humping installs and having the friend that was where do I find installers? The fact that I did that for that long, I knew. So when we did start business, I had installers from day one. The day I opened my business, I had installers because I knew damn well I didn't want to do that anymore.
Oh yeah, and obviously, nothing bad about what installers do. Obviously, they're the lifeblood of a business.
Mm-hmm.
And mine get paid a hell of a lot of money. I look at the payroll sometimes. I'm like, God damn, I might be an installer. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's great opportunity in that. But obviously, when you move over into service, that's when you get into sales. And as you guys know, the more you sell, the more money you make normally, and it gives you an open opportunity. So you transition from installer, you start moving over into the sales department or service department, or were you allowed to sell equipment at that point, or you just servicing the system?
No, it was all sales techs. We didn't have really any sales guys. That's kind of how I came up in the industry so I was allowed to sell on my own from the get.
Nice. So you came in, how long did it really take you to start understanding the consumer side? Because going from being the installer where you're just going in there focusing on installing all day, to now you got to go in there, you got to diagnose the problem. You got to go talk to that. You got to go communicate to the homeowner why they need to go with it. Then you got to communicate value and why they should pay the price or why they should go with your company. How long did that transition take? Was it overnight, or was it like, hey, I went home and started practicing day in and day out to figure it out?
No, it was. I had some success at the get, but it was really a couple years before I really started to thrive in it and really started to have a lot of success. It took me a while to get to that point. I competed with other guys in the service side that were better than me, but I've been at the time, but I've always been competitive as hell. So I always wanted to get to where they were at. So that was a good competitive spirit for me.
And I think that's something, obviously, knowing you now, like you don't like to lose much.
No.
It's not really in your DNA. So, I mean, obviously, coming up, obviously you gotta take, a lot of people think like you can go A to Z. And, I was on a podcast recently and all of a sudden people are hitting me up. Hey, I want to get into HVAC. And I'm like, dude, you don't just get into HVAC. Like that, people don't understand the amount of time, energy, effort it takes to become a great technician, to become a great selling technician, or become a great installer. It's not overnight, right? And that's what I think a lot of people are like, oh, I can go sell HVAC. I'm like, you can go sell it, but you probably won't sell it at a very high rate. And you're probably not going to sell it at a high price, the price you need to sell it at the margin, and you're going to fuck a lot of shit up. So if a sales guy comes in today, I can't just have him sell air conditioning. It takes time. You got to design the system. You got to learn what you're doing. You got to learn airflow. You got to learn how to deal with customers. Then you got to deal with more permitting and all these other things that go into it. So if you guys think that jumping into HVAC sales is an easy thing, you're in for a whole fucking rude awakening if you really try it out. So, hey guys, I hope you guys are enjoying the Service Rocket podcast. This is your host, Victor Rancour. Exciting news, we had some tickets open up for the Service Rocket Growth Summit. It's October 20th through 22nd at Resort World Las Vegas. You're going to want to be there. We have some of the best owners, operators, trainers, and motivators in the country all in one place coming together to help you guys grow your business, grow your sales, and hopefully grow in life. So if you haven't got a chance yet, go to servicerocketnetwork.com. Go ahead and get signed up today. Cannot wait to see you guys in Vegas. How long were you into install or in HVAC by the time you became a selling technician?
I think 8 years.
8 years.
I spent a lot of time doing it, and I hit a lot of different aspects of the trade. Like I did commercial industrial for like the first 3 years that I did HVAC, and then I did residential installs, and I did that for probably another three to 4 years as well before I started working at the company where I started doing service sales. And I started there as an installer, and probably was there for about a year to 2 years before I started doing service for them.
Nice. So you're now working for a company, grinding day in and day out. I know at one point you became the top sales guy there, right?
Yep.
So you became the top sales guy. How much money were you making over there?
My best year, I made a little over 300,000 that year.
So $300,000. That's a lot of coin right there. That's not a little bit of money. He's living in Utah. Like, that's a lot of coin in California, let alone in Utah. So you're living pretty good. Living good. How old are your kids at this point?
My kids at this point were 15 and 12. So yeah, teenagers, young, almost teenagers.
So making money, you got your kids. Kids are now in their teens. It's hard at that point. You start getting comfortable, right? Like,
very comfortable.
Yeah, you start feeling comfortable. And a lot of guys get in that position, like, especially as a business owner, I want my sales guys to go start buying shit. So I want to go buy a boat, a house, all kinds of shit, so you can never leave me, right? I want you to be in debt. Right. I want you to be in debt forever. So you can't just go quit your job, right?
Yeah.
So you're doing this, you're making this other guy money. You said he doesn't come to the office very often, right?
No, he was never involved in the day-to-day.
Okay.
So, there's people that worked for him for a year without even meeting him.
So, that's also important, right? If you own an HVAC business, any business for that, right? Like, when the owner's disconnected, what happens is other people are like, well, we're running this thing, right? You get the mentality, like, I'm already running the show. Why
100%.
Why do I want to keep working for this guy, right?
Yeah. I had a lot of customers that would ask me that. They would ask me, is this your business? And I'm like, no. And they're like, why don't you start your own business? And I said, I'm doing good enough on my own. Like, I'm doing, not on my own, but working for this guy. I don't want to deal with the stress. I don't want to deal with this and that. Like, $300,000 a year and be off at, 6 o'clock or whatever. I mean, I grinded, worked hard, but to be off and not have to deal with shit, that's kind of envious, especially with the business owner now. Yeah. If you can make $300 a year and not deal with the bullshit we deal with, sounds very tempting.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, I mean, obviously what goes into running a business. And you don't know it as a sales guy, because you just think that guy's making all kinds of money, no stress. He's out, he's on vacation, and you don't realize what actually goes into running a business. So I got to find out the hard way, because I went from making a shit ton of money to doing the same thing. And I'm like, okay, where's my money now? Who's going to pay? Wait, I don't get a paycheck this Friday? What do you mean I don't get a paycheck? Wait, I got to put my own money back into this bitch?
Right.
So obviously you crush it as a sales guy. What was the moment that you finally decided that you were going to have that entrepreneurial seizure, where you're going to go start your own business?
The company I work for, and it's a blessing now, but the company I worked for was going downhill. So I had to grind after 2016. That was my top year. 2017, I had to work a lot harder, made less. 2018, I was working even harder, making less again. Still making really good money, but the trend was going down. So I knew at that point it was either I had two options: to go work for somebody else or to start my own business. And kind of like what you said, with the owner not being involved day to day, I pretty much, like, I considered myself self-employed for the last 5 years. I worked for that company. Like, it wasn't a problem with me working. So with me working my ass off and taking the calls when it was busy, I could get off when I wanted. I made my own schedule in a sense. I didn't have to really answer to anybody. So that wasn't an option, to go work for somebody else and start that shit over and start over at the bottom of the totem pole. So it was either that or start my own business, and I knew that I could do it. So starting my own business was the option.
So you made the decision day one. Where did you come up with the name? Obviously, One Stop's a great name. It's, if you think about it, it can expand into any genre, electrical, plumbing, whatever it is. So the name was great. Where did that come from?
Googling good names for HVAC companies, and that's where I found it.
Well, now that works. That's a little cheating, okay, brother?
Well, I Googled it, and we found like 10 different names that we were talking about. And so then I was looking on Doppel, like, is this name taken? Is this name taken? And One Stop just stuck in my head. That's a good name for a company. So I looked on Doppel and it wasn't taken. So I said, let's do it. That's what we're going with.
Nice. So now we got the name. We're getting ready. So how much capital was it that you used to start up One Stop, or did you come in with money, or did you just say, hey, I just got to figure it out? I know sales guys, we like to blow our cash. I
didn't come in with a lot of money. I cashed out my 401k that I had from the place that I worked. So I started out with probably, let's say $40,000 is pretty much what I started out with. So I bought, out of that, I probably spent half of that on vehicles. So I bought 3 vans, got them wrapped. So they were wrapped. I already had the design and everything. I spent money on that. And then I knew I needed to spend money on marketing. From day one, I wasn't going to be a small-time business, so I knew it was going to take money to get the phone to ring. So we invested money into marketing from day one.
So obviously investing into marketing is important. If you're not doing that with your business, then it's never going to go anywhere. Where did you go first? What was the thing that you said, hey, I got to go focus on this?
I didn't really know. I mean, I knew Google was the biggest thing. So I use the terminology or the phrase that it's like being blindfolded with a handful of darts and just throwing them at the fucking dartboard and seeing what sticks. So I knew it was going to take money to get the phone to ring. So I was spending money here, got some mailers, got a pay-per-click guy, SEO person, probably wasted a lot of money on certain avenues, but got the phone to ring on other avenues. So kind of figured it out from the get and then dial it in from that point.
So a lot of people are probably listening to this, they're scared to spend the money, right? And, obviously it's scary because you put money out there and you're throwing your fish net out there and you're hoping to catch some fish, right? And when you do catch those fish, not only do you have to convert them into something, right? Because if you go get new customers and you're only charging $200 humping capacitors all day, are you really making any money?
Right.
No. So obviously talk about how important it was to have that sales background and be able to sell, obviously not even just sell it, but also sell it at the right price to be able to scale your business. Or did you start out real cheap in the beginning?
No, I didn't start out cheap. A lot cheaper than we are now. But that was the one part that I didn't worry about because I knew I had that. I knew I could convert. I was out in the field for the first probably 3 years of business. But I knew that I could sell. I knew if I could get in the customers' homes, I could sell. And I recruited a couple guys to come work for me pretty quick that I knew could sell. So we didn't really have a process or a price book. Like we just knew what the prices were we wanted to sell from. So it was more of a worry for me to get the phone to ring, get the customers to come in because I knew I could sell.
Yeah, and that's the same way with me. Like I just got to get I got to get the phones to ring. I remember when I first started. I started in August, around the same time as you. You went like in July or August.
We got the business license June 1st, but we started August, September. So we pretty much started business at the exact same time.
And if anybody knows anything about starting a business in August or September, it's kind of retarded.
Yeah.
You wouldn't miss the whole summer season, right? So you
100%.
You get the little tail end of the summer, you get some calls going, and all of a sudden that first winter hits and your phones aren't going crazy, right? Well, I guess in Utah, they probably get a little busier than here. But I was just hanging out in a warehouse with me and my buddies playing video games for a while. How did you guys get the phones to ring when you didn't have the demand? How were you guys staying in front of customers?
Just spending money on the marketing. I mean, obviously it's more expensive during those off seasons. The clicks are a lot more expensive than they are during the summer. And the phone, even in Utah, I mean, we've got the cold weather, but the phone doesn't blow up like it does in the summer. Summer's still our busiest time of the year, hands down in Utah. But it's even it's super busy during the summertime, but then it stays steady during the wintertime. So just spending money on that marketing, having the mailers that we were in, the pay-per-click, and just making the best of the customers we got in front of.
Yeah, and so if you guys are listening, what Jeff said, right? A lot of guys, they get scared to spend the money. You have to continue. Like marketing, you just got to keep throwing your fish out there, throwing your fish net out there, no matter what time of year. If you stop marketing, you end up dying. So if you guys are thinking about it right now, just prepare, right? As it slows down, you got to spend more money. Just be okay with it. Just make sure you guys are obviously aligning with the right people that are doing their job and making sure you're monitoring it. How are you guys, knowing you now? I know you're a motherfucker when it comes to marketing, right? So we want to talk about that, like how you hold your marketing people accountable. Because I feel like you scare me sometimes. Like Jeff will come over and stab you and start blowing his money. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
I got good people with me that do that. And the person sitting next to me, she knows more about the business than I do in that sense. But inspect what you expect. Like you can't just spend that money on the marketing and then not know what your return is. Because if that's the case, you're going to lose a lot of fucking money on marketing because everyone tells you that they're going to do a good job and everyone tells you they're going to get you a ton of customers, but not everyone can do that. So you've got to inspect it. You've got to check and make sure that these marketing funnels are working and not be afraid to switch it up, not be afraid to throw more. And like you said, you got to throw that net out there to catch that fish. If you're afraid to throw that net or your net's too small, you can't expect to catch that big fish. It ain't going to happen.
The other thing that Jeff does really well that, most contractors fail on miserably, which is knowing his customer, knowing his ideal customer, knowing his avatar. He's not going and running home warranty calls. He's not running commercial calls. He's running the calls that make him make money. You want to talk a little bit about that, how you guys go through scrubbing your calls?
Yeah, we have a good process as far as the right questions to ask. Make sure that if they have home warranties, we tell them we're not even coming out. And just asking the right questions as far as the age of the equipment. Are you the homeowner? The location? And we don't ask the age. We never ask the age of the equipment. We always ask when the equipment was installed. And just knowing the right way to ask those questions to the customers.
So listening to that, so knowing when the equipment's installed, that's going to tell you a couple different things, right? Because that's going to tell you, if they were the ones that installed it, because that is important, right? Because when I'm going to talk to a customer and they inherited a system, they're not as mad when I tell them it's a piece of shit. Like, yeah, I inherited this piece of shit. But some people, right, they know when it was installed. They know who installed it. They'll tell you everything about it, how much they paid. They'll kind of start spilling the beans on it most of the time, right?
Yep.
So that's important. So if you guys get anything, you guys make sure you're scrubbing your calls. Not every customer is your customer. I have this conversation with a lot of contractors all over. They're like, we got a lot of calls coming in. I'm like, are you making a lot of money? Well, no. I'll say, okay, have you gone through and ran a job cost on the jobs that you're running and figuring out what's important? What do I want to go to? What am I going to drop? What's the most important call to me? What's a call I want to give to my competitors, right?
Yeah.
You can actually create a lot of friends in the industry, and all of a sudden you're like, you tell your competitor, hey, I'm going to send you calls. Do you mind? You start sending them calls. They think they're your friend, right? But you're only sending the dog shit that you don't want. But hey, dude, Jeff's a badass guy, dude. He keeps sending me calls. What a nice dude he is. Yeah, right. So you said one of the most important parts of your business is this beautiful lady next to you, your wife, Chacie. Chacie, you want to talk about how your involvement in the business is, and just keep in mind, she runs the business. Jeff's a pretty face, but Chacie's the one that does all the back end stuff. I mean, she's a badass. Let's talk about you a little bit. If you get a little bit closer to the mic, and make it easier. Pretend like you love each other. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So my kind of niche, my expertise is mostly customer service dispatch. So going along kind of what you guys were saying is filtering the calls, training your staff to be able to ask the right questions, knowing what calls to dispatch to what technicians. So that's kind of my expertise. I do a lot of the other office stuff, training, job costing. I'm involved in a lot of the marketing avenues too. So that's kind of what I do.
What's your background? I know, you've been in the industry for a little while now, right?
Yeah.
So let's tell you a little bit about what you were doing before you were part of One Stop.
Yeah. So I came from property management. And when I moved to Utah in 2013, I actually went to go work for the company that Jeff was working for.
Oh, nice.
I started as a customer service rep, quickly moved into dispatch, spent some time in their accounting department. So I just absorbed as much as I possibly could. So I could literally work. I was one person that could work in every single department in the company. So I think that's kind of what made me an asset when we started One Stop, is I kind of knew more. My expertise was all the office end, customer service, dispatch, accounting, and Jeff's was like more the field side. So we made a great team when we decided to branch out and do our own thing. So I set up the office from the very get-go.
So, that's an important part, because that was one thing, when I made my switch, I knew nothing about the office. I still I get the processes now and I get all that stuff, but I suck at that stuff. Like, that's not my expertise. So having that had to have been vitally important to be able to grow the business as well.
Huge, man. It was, it's a big part of my success, because I feel like we complement each other well. I'm good out in the field. I'm good at being in front of the customers, training the service techs on the right way to make those calls valuable. But Chacie gets us to the right calls, gets us to the right customers. And it's so huge when you go to the customer and you get there and you're diagnosing the system or you're just building rapport and they're like, who is that lady on the phone? And it's not whether it's Chacie or someone she trained, but they're always comment, oh, that lady on the phone was very nice and that person was very helpful. And you're like, you got that shit in the bag because on the front end, they've already set it up for you. So that part of it, that's why we work so good together, because what I'm not good at, she's good at, and vice versa.
Yeah, and what Jeff said is important, right? Because a lot of people, a lot of sales guys, right? They think, oh, I sold that shit. They think they're the only part that matters in the cog of the business, and they're just a piece of it. So, if you guys are the sales guy and you get that ego, right? We're like, oh, this business ain't shit without me. A lot of times that call was sold before you ever got there. The way they answered, obviously, they got to market the damn thing, because you got to get a lead in the door. So the owner got the lead in the door. You got to have a beautiful process on answering the phone. So they got to answer the phone right. They got to get the right guy out there. They got you there, but they asked the right questions to get you there too. And then obviously you have the install department at the end. So it is vitally important. If you guys don't have the call center down, and this goes back to the marketing, right? You can spend as much money as you want on marketing, but if you don't answer the phones correctly, most of those calls aren't going to get booked anyways. Yeah. So I know that, our PPC guy, I talked to him, he's like, yeah, it's night and day difference. I can go spend the same amount of money with X company, the same amount of money with B company, and all of a sudden this company just crushes it. This one sucks, but it's usually their phone answering. It takes them 3, 4, 5 minutes to answer the phone. When they do answer it, they're not prepared. They're not asking the right questions. They're not doing these things. And you can burn a shit ton of money on marketing by not having the office staff set up.
100%. A lot of most of the marketing people I talk to that's always their big concern is, the phone room, and this is where it fails in the phone room. And it's nice to know that we're not going to fail in the phone room. Like when those marketing companies express those concerns, I'm like, we're good on that part. We're going to convert them.
Just make it ring.
Yeah, just make the phone ring. But I talk about that with everyone. It's a team sport and it's a relay race, and it's all about passing that baton without dropping that baton. Like the office staff is the most important. They're the front line. They're the first person that's going to talk to the customer, and they're the last person that's going to talk to the customer if they fuck it up. But it's about them passing the baton off to the service guys, and then the service guys got to go out and convert that job and turn that over and turn it into a sale or a new install or whatever, and then they got to pass the baton off to the installers, and then the installers got to go out there and kick ass, and then they got to pass the baton back to the office.
Yeah, it's a big wheel, right? The business is a living body, right? You got to have all these little pieces together to make everything work. So now you started this business. You guys got some employees. You're scaling it. I want to talk about obviously scaling your business. How was that first year?
We did good. We started, like I said, business in August, September. So for the first couple months, we were just getting our feet wet. We moved into the building that we're still at in November. And so by that time we were doing business. So October, November, and December, we had revenue. We had probably $130,000, $150,000 a month in revenue for each of those 3 months. And then 2019, which was our first calendar year, we did $2.4 million in revenue. And we didn't know it was good until really Facebook and started meeting you and going to these events and talking to people. And they ask, what your revenue was last year. And they're like, I tell them, and they were like, really, for your first year? And I was like, oh, I guess that must have been pretty good.
I had Ellen Rohr on as a guest on our podcast, and I was talking to her. She's like, they actually did a national statistic that only 80% of companies in the home service space will ever grow past 3 trucks.
It's crazy.
That's
and
crazy.
Of those 80%, only 80% of those are one-man bands. So you're just by passing 3 trucks, you're already in the top 20 percentile of the industry, right? And then as you scale past that, most people won't ever get past the 4. So when you get past the 4 trucks, you're into the top 5%, which is pretty badass. But you really think about how hard it is to scale these businesses. Of all these people have been starting businesses forever, but nobody gets really past that point. So obviously to do that in the first year is obviously fantastic. So we're at 2.4 million, first year in business. How are you feeling? Feeling like a pimp yet?
No, not yet. We didn't spend any money, man. I didn't spend any money on myself for like 3 years, and I still it's all about profits, man. You see these people that are doing $2 to $4 to $5 million a year, and they ain't making no fucking money. So we were profitable from day one, which allowed us to grow and get bigger and bigger. But no, pimp status didn't come till just recently.
So and it is important, right? Like a lot of, especially on the social media, you get caught up with all these guys and all the revenue and all these things, and you forgot about the most important part, which is profits. And obviously in the businesses that are partnerships and stuff like that, we talk about all day. We talk about EBITDA, we talk about profits, we talk about what really matters. Like why are you doing this business? If you're doing this for a charity, we could file as a 301c. We get you signed, you have to be a charity tomorrow, but this shit sucks. This isn't a job you want to do. Being a business owner and not making money, those are two things that don't go together. And there's a lot of you guys out there that are probably listening to this right now. You're like, oh, but next year I'll make money. And you want to talk about how you're guaranteeing every day that you're making money. I know you guys are really big on the numbers. So you want to talk about, how you guys are knowing you're winning every day?
We'll let Chacie talk about that.
There you go.
So yeah, I think again, it goes back to, like you said, Victor, knowing your numbers. I mean, every day we break down, what our profits were, we job cost as the jobs come in. That's one new thing we started doing. We used to job cost our jobs well after they were done, say on a weekly basis. But then you don't know until it's too late where you're lacking, whether your installers are taking too long, you're not allotting enough time for the job to be completed. But doing our job costing daily in real time has really helped us know that we're being profitable on every single job that we're doing. And if we ever see, and Jeff can attest to this, I mean, as soon as I see one of my sales techs give a discount on a job, I'm like, no, you can't do it.
If we make less than 65% margin on a job, she gets
I'm
mad.
freaking out. Yeah.
You guys got to think about it this way. Like it has to be, you have to normalize not discounting, because what happens, and I've been there, and I normalized giving discounts, right? We are giving discounts left and right. And I gave $1 million in discounts last year, right? And when you normalize it, you allow it, then you guys start doing it and use it as a crutch. Yeah. But when you say, dude, this is our fucking price and you can't sell anything below this price or you ain't making any money, then it changes the mindset. So you guys got to get in the mindset like, this is our price, and you got to start breeding the guys and talking to the guys and getting them to buy in on what it costs to really run that business. Yeah. I think that's something you guys have excelled on. Obviously the guys you do have are killers, right? So, I talk to a lot of guys and they got, 2 killers on the team and 100 fucking sheep. Jeff's the other way. He breeds unicorns. He only wants to bring the guys that are going to sell at the margin that he needs. That are going to take care of his customers the right way and want to put the effort into actually becoming great at what they do. So you want to talk about that and how you guys communicate that, hey, look, discounts ain't happening here.
Yeah, I think it's a lot about how you present options to a customer. And we always like to give multiple options to a customer. And I preach to my guys, we're doing 4 to 6 options minimum for a customer. Well, not minimum, but not more than 6, but 4 to 6 options for every customer. And then when we do that, we only talk about the top option. We only sell that top option verbally to a customer. And then we hand them the iPad or the sheet and let them look over the other options. And giving options gets away from discounting. Like if the customer, because when you only talk about the top option, that customer really doesn't want to look through options 2 through 6 because there's so many psychological things that are involved, but they're already sold on that one. And you didn't talk about options 2 through 6. But if a customer wants a lower price, you've got a lower price. You've got options 2 through 6 that they can look at, and there's your marketing, or not your marketing, but you're discounting. You don't have to discount if you got multiple options. So I think the options is the biggest part about not giving discounts.
And I think it, and I see it because I know when my guys aren't offering options, and it, right? Because all of a sudden you'll see them sell basic.
Yes.
There's no consumer out there statistically. Probably 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 are going to choose a better option than basic, right?
Yes.
The only reason they ever pick the bottom option is because you don't believe in your pricing and you're not offering the big stuff. Because every time when I run a call, I do a 1 through 5 star. I don't know the last time I sold anything under a 3-star.
Yes.
Like I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that shit in my house. Why am I even offering it to a customer? The only reason you're offering it to a customer is you have a mental roadblock that they're not going to buy. And the power comes from talking from the high end unit all the way down. Most of the time, what you do is you tell them the high end, this is what's included, this is all the bells and whistles, how it's going to change your life, how it's going to make it better. And then they're like, okay, what's the other ones? Well, okay, this other one's great, but you're going to lose this. Tell them what they're going to lose in that.
Right.
And magically, by the time you get to the third one, they're like, "Yeah, I don't want to lose any more shit. I want to get this." Okay, well, hey, guess what? It's only $25 more a month to get to that one you really want. Let's go ahead and step that up. Are you guys pitching a lot of financing, or how do you guys go about it?
Yeah, we I would say we're probably 80 to 90% of our revenue is financed.
Which is huge. So a lot of guys are always talking about, oh, my customers don't like to finance. No. The customers that bought from you don't finance. The ones that didn't buy from you, went down the street and bought from Jeff, they like to finance.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys aren't preaching finance, you're not talking about it, you're going to keep getting that basic system that's discounted down to the cash they have in hand, because most people don't have more than $10,000 to their name. So all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm only selling, my biggest system I'm selling is $8 or $9 grand, because that's all they have. But if you give them an option where they can not have to put any money down, get a low payment, get the system they want, you'd be surprised how much they would be able to buy. So sounds like you got the framework of a great business. You're rolling into 2019, head into 2020. How did 2020 go for you guys?
2020 was rough. Obviously, that was COVID. So COVID hit us in the ass pretty good. So we ended up going backwards just a little bit. 2019, we did the 2.4 million. 2020, we ended like 2.1, 2.2 million. So backwards sucked. It wasn't acceptable because we had the framework of getting ready to just blow it up in the next year. And then we struggled to do the same thing we did the year before.
Well, a lot of people don't realize, like, Utah, like, shut down. Like, I went out to Utah during COVID in probably May 2020, and like, there was nobody in downtown.
Mm-hmm.
There was nobody in any bar. There was nothing. I had to wear a mask to go walk to my table, and I'm just like, where is everybody? Like, no one's been here in months, right? Yeah. They just would lock themselves up in the house. So obviously that was a big deal going through that community. They're really scared about everybody coming in their house. So that definitely had to be rough.
It's huge.
So you had 2020, you went down a little bit, but you're still running a great business, still running a profitable business, right? Heading into 2021, you guys are crushing it, right?
Well, and I think 2020 helped us crush it for 2021, because if we could get through that in our second year of business, when most companies fold and close the fucking doors in their second year of business, we felt untouchable. So we we almost doubled it up. We came just shy of 4 million in 21.
Dude, that's freaking badass.
Yeah.
And I remember, because we started our business at the same time. So I remember going through that through COVID. I lost all my key players. I lost my sales guys. Everybody's quitting on me because they're nervous because we're the new company. Everybody, and then you have the big guys, they weren't scared. They had the cash. So they were throwing money at all my guys saying, hey, come over here. We're secure. You don't got to worry about it. And I'm over here like, please don't leave me. Just stay. I'll do some nasty shit. And I'm just kidding. But I was trying to get them to stay. And I lost a lot of my key employees. So I get exactly what that feeling was. It's like, when you first start out, you don't have access to a bunch of capital. You don't have access to all the things that these bigger companies do. Mm-hmm. So when you got to float everything, I remember I had a whole office staff, and all of a sudden it was me answering my phone.
Yeah.
And they're like refusing to come to work and wanted me to pay them while they're sitting at home. And I'm like, dude, I will kill all of you. I will drive to your house right now and I'll give you COVID. Okay. You're going to have the worst problem to deal with.
That's facts.
So, you get through all that stuff. 2021, you guys come out, have a great year, over $4 million. And, obviously towards October last year is when we partnered, and me and you had talked about it with Pulte. And you came on at the end of October, actually at the Vegas event last year.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about how that's worked out for you guys, how it's been good, how it's been for your business?
It's been good, man. It's been a great partnership, and we talked about it. Victor tried to partner with me like 2 or 3 times before, and whether it was me being stubborn or whatever it was, it didn't work out those first few times we tried, but it's been a great partnership, man. I heard the phrase before, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, get a team.
Yeah.
And having a team, like, we got some badass people with Bill, with Rob, with you, and just with all of our other partners around the country. Like, we're on a badass team now. So the resources, the confidence, it's been huge, man. It's been awesome.
I was thinking about it the other day, and we quietly built one of the bigger platforms in the whole industry. So we're in 10 different states at this point. We have a bunch of partners, and it's a bunch of young guys that are hungry.
Yeah.
And the cool thing, we do our partnerships different. Unlike coming in and buying your business where you don't get to go eat, we like to get the owners keep majority. So they keep the majority. They get to get the lion's share of this thing when we actually go to take it to market. Even when we pay it out, we don't tell them how to run their business. We just tell them they're dumbasses sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing that's been weird working with Bill, is like, he'll he'll just make you feel dumb. You know what I mean? He won't say you're dumb, but he's like, that's kind of stupid, you know? And I didn't at first, I'm like, oh, you motherfucker. Then I realized I'm like, he's doing that on purpose. He wants you to go to the conclusion. He already sees what's going on. He can tell you what's wrong with your business, but he needs you to fucking learn. Because if you don't learn yourself, you're never going to fix the fucking problem yourself.
That's right.
And that's what's been big for me, because Bill's like, he'll literally look at it and say, okay, you know, you think you really need that person, or you really think you should do that. Okay.
Yeah. There's been group chats like with the whole company, and I'm over there texting Victor like, oh, that dude didn't just say that, like Bill's about to go in on him. Like, you got to think about what the fuck you text out there before you text under Bill, because he'll let you know that was stupid.
Well, we were talking about the other day, and there's this thing going around on social media, and everybody's talking about, warning their friends and family about these price increases coming. And Bill goes in the chat. Me and Bill had already talked about it before that. I didn't post that shit. So we talked about it, and it's like, dude, the entire industry is literally saying, hey, how about you guys all come over and fucking rape us and give us these price increases? And me and Bill are like, I got an email from one of our distributors saying, hey, we're going to, got this is going to happen January 1st. And the first thing I texted back was scam or not participating. Right. So like,
we're going to fire you if that shit happens January 1st.
Yeah, exactly.
Not we're just accepting it. We're cool with it.
Yeah. These other guys are posting this stuff and they're accepting it. And that's the thing that we're like, you don't think about it as a business owner. You don't think about the ramifications of all this shit. And Bill's like, Bill, at first I didn't think about it. Bill's like, do you understand what they're just doing? They're literally just saying, come fuck me. Yeah. And I'm not going to lube you up. You're already prepared for it. And guess what? When the price goes up, it doesn't go back down. So, if you guys are in this industry, you guys are listening to this stuff, stop accepting it. Start shopping your vendors. Start doing that stuff, because guess what? The longer you take it, the longer you say, oh, I'm a train guy. I'm a Lennox guy. Fuck you. I'm a nothing guy. I'm a guy who's going to take care of me.
Yeah,
and at this point, it's crazy because consumer goods have gone down since March, but our prices keep going up. That sounds like a scam in my book, but the distributors are listening to this. Hope you enjoyed it. We're coming. But
no, my reply was because Bill said, if you have any distributors on your social media, like that's an open invitation for them to raise their prices. And my first thought was, why the fuck do you have distributors as friends on your social media? Like, they're not friends, they're the enemies.
No, obviously you got to have a relationship, because obviously during COVID, all that stuff, you want to be able to get your equipment. But it's like, at some point, you guys got to realize that it's a business. It's them versus you. Like, they want to take your money. And I made a joke the other day. I was like, I might as well just give them equity in the business, and they can stop giving me price increases. You know what I mean? So you guys got to be smart about how you communicate, how you talk, because that stuff, once you allow it to happen, it becomes a bigger issue. And I'm sure I'm going to get shit from this, but whatever. So got this great business. You guys got a partnership. Now you're wearing Louis Vuitton shoes. You got Louis Vuitton, got necklace on. You're the big boss now, man. Talk about it. How does it feel to, you're 4 years into business and to be where you're at now? It seems like you're doing great. It seems like you're over here and you're in California traveling, and your business is running back in Utah. Yeah. So how does that feel?
It feels good, man. It feels good to have a business that have leaders, in a business that'll run when I'm not there. And it's good, man. Like 2021 with the partnership, or 22, I mean, with the partnership, we've taken off. And first I want to say, I'll have Chacie answer, but what was our EBITDA percentage in 21? You know what it was?
30%.
Like 31%
31%
was our EBITDA percentage in 21. So we make money. And now in 22, obviously we don't want that number to go down. But in 22, we passed our 2021 revenue on July 15th. So 6.5 months. Yeah, thank you. And now it's just the sky's the limit, man. And somebody told me that it's like riding a bike, and once you get up to the top of that hill, that passing that 5 million is that top of the hill, and then you can kind of start coasting a little bit and not take your foot off the gas, but the business starts to generate some momentum and starts to run itself. So
it starts to become a real business at that point. And then, I talk to people all the time, like, you want to partner with me? And I'm like, how big's your company? Like, we're doing $1 million. I was like, you don't have a company yet. You got a fucking hobby. Okay.
Got a job. You own a job. You don't own a
job. So there's a lot of things you have to have in place. And, if you're like, oh, I want to come talk to Victor about partnership, get your shit together first. Cause we're going to come in. I'm going to see your business. We had some partnerships we made recently. And I'm like, I already knew, like, day one, like, we're doing this, and this. Like, I could see the problems in the business most of the time beforehand. And that's one great thing that Michelle does. So if you guys are looking for coaching, mentoring, you guys are at that, you're trying to get to the next level, bring a coach in that's going to be able to help you, someone that's going to be able to guide you how to get there, because going blind sucks. I went blind myself. Jeff went blind. Imagine where you would have been if you would have had guidance from day one, exactly what to do.
Hell
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys got a great business. I got some other exciting news. You guys probably saw the lineup. Mr. Jeff Packard is going to be on the main stage at the Service Rocket Growth Summit. What are you going to be covering?
I don't know. It's going to be exciting, though.
It's going to be exciting. So Jeff's going to be up there. He's going to be talking probably about his business and life. And, he's been through some stuff and he's got a pretty cool story. So I'm excited to see him on stage. I'm excited to see everybody out there. The event's going to be badass. So it's going to be October 20th through 22nd, Resort World Las Vegas. If you guys haven't got your tickets yet, it's sold out. So thank you guys for coming. The guys that did buy tickets.
Good job.
Anything else you want to add, Jeff? Anybody out there say they're, a new business starting out, what would you say to those guys?
Don't be scared to throw that big net out there. Like you said, there's so many people that don't have no direction on how to grow a business. They want to grow a business. They don't have the money, or they don't have the save every bit of that fucking profit you make on that job and include it into the next job. Like, we didn't spend a dime of what the company made. We didn't take any loans from day one. We started this business with $40,000 and we have not put $1 into this business since then. And the business is doing great, but go hard. Don't take your foot off the gas, and don't be afraid to spend that money. Don't be afraid to pay that bonus to get that lead sales guy or lead installer, because you can't do it by yourself. You can't do it without a team, and you can't do it without money. It takes money to make money.
And if your business isn't spitting out coins, stop what you're doing and fix what's going on, because these companies should be spitting out coin. And if it's not happening, you're doing something wrong. You got to evaluate what you're doing. Otherwise, you're just going to be running in a hamster wheel. You're going to be going and taking loans against the business that's not making any money. You shouldn't have to do that stuff. And if you find yourself where you got to go take a loan, and it's not for, hey, I'm already a huge business, I want to go become a $40 million business. If you find yourself having to take a loan because you don't have the cash flow, there's something going on in your business. You need to fix it, because all you're going to do is add debt, and these might as well be spelled death, because that's what's going to happen to your business if you don't fix it as soon as you bring on debt. So, Jeff, Chacie, it's a pleasure having you guys on. I'm excited to be taking a jet out to Vegas with you in about a month and a half. Excited to have you guys as friends. Excited to have you guys as partners. Thanks again. Thanks again for everybody for tuning into the Service Rocket podcast. This is episode number 8. Tune in next week. We have another exciting episode for you guys. Thank you.